All right, mathletes, here we are looking at problem solving with quadratic equations. So when we're problem solving here, we kind of want to follow these 6 steps. Okay, so make sure you read carefully through the problem, sketch any useful diagrams if possible. Okay, decide and label your unknowns. Okay, from that information, you want to try and generate an equation. From that equation, use one of the strategies we've developed in solving quadratics. Okay, you might choose to solve by factoring, solve by completing the square, or solve using your quadratic formula. 5, check and make sure some of your solutions make sense. Many times in word problems, your negative solutions aren't going to make sense, so you want to make sure you plug it back in. And then finally, write your final answer in a sentence form, or at least in the context of the problem. Okay, let's look at our first example here. So, a number and its square is 42. Find the number. Well, the nice thing is so read it through. I need to find the number. So I'm going to let x equal the number. Okay. All right. Using the next bit of information, I want to know and try and generate an equation. So the sum, so I know it's an addition problem, of a number, so a number, and its square, so a number squared is written like that, is 42. Okay, so I've generated my equation. Okay, I recognize it's a quadratic because I have an x squared term and an x term. So to solve this, I'm going to try and solve by factoring first. So I'm going to get everything on the left side. So I get x squared plus x minus 42 is equal to 0. Okay, so I can solve this one by factoring, recognizing that my numbers that multiply to negative 42 and add to 1, I can get, so positive and negative, I get 7, and negative 6, they're going to add to 1. So I get x squared plus 7x minus 6x minus 42 is equal to 0. Factor out my x, I get x plus 7. Factor out a negative 6, and I get x plus 7. Okay, those factors are the same, so I get x plus 7 times the quantity x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, the null product property says that either x is equal to negative 7 from that term, or x is equal to 6. Okay, so a number, so the number 6 and its square, so and its square, 36, the sum is 42, right? 6 plus 36 equals 42. Check. Okay. A number, negative 7, and its square, 49. The sum is 42. We can see that negative 7 plus 49 is equal to 42. Check. Okay, let's look at another example here. So, a rectangle has a length 5 centimeters greater than its width, and its area is 84 centimeters square. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So, first I'm going to draw a rectangle. Okay, decide on my variable. So I only want to introduce one variable if possible. So find the dimensions of the rectangle. So I need to find an x a width and a height. Okay, so rectangle has a length of 5 centimeters greater than its width. So if I let my width be equal to x, okay, and the length, the rectangle has a length, so I guess they're not calling it height, but they're calling it length. The length is 5 centimeters greater than the width. So that's 5 greater than the width, which is x. Okay, so if I draw my picture here, I have x and 5 plus x being there. Okay? So I know that area is equal to 84 centimeters squared. Well, how do you calculate area of a rectangle? That's width times length. So for our example, it's x times the quantity, x plus 5, or 5x, 5 plus x. This is equal to 84. Okay, so now I have my equation. Well, if I distribute my x through, I get x squared plus 5x equals 84. Recognize it's a quadratic. I'm going to solve, see if I can solve by factoring first. X squared minus 84 is equal to 5x. Oh, is equal to 0. So then I write here, I get negative 84. And I need to add to 5. Okay. So then I think about my factors. 2 and 42 is not going to work. It's not divisible by 3. 84 divided by 8. That's not going to work. And then so 86 times 14. That's not going to work. And then 84. So I get 7 and 12. Okay, so 7 and 12. One of them has to be negative. Since it's positive 5, it needs to be negative 7. Okay, so I get my factors here. I get x minus 7 and x plus 12. So I'm taking my shortcut with factoring here. That's equal to 0. Okay, so I know that x can be equal to 7 or x can be equal to negative 12. Well, the problem with negative 12 is I can't have a measurement equal to negative 12. So that doesn't work for a solution. If x is 7, I get 7, and 7 plus 5 is 12. Okay, and I can see that this gives you an 84. This is 7 centimeters, 12 centimeters. That gives you an area of 84 centimeters squared. Okay, let's do one more example here. Okay, given that AB is 3 meters shorter than BC, find the height of the flagpole. Okay, some things I want to recognize is that BC is congruent to the flagpole by these markers here. Okay, and then that AB is 3 meters shorter than BC, find the height of the flagpole. So if I let BC equal x, okay, then this is equal to x, okay, and AB is 3 meters shorter than this. This is going to be equal to x minus 3. Okay, so because I have a similar triangles here, and I know that because I have parallel lines, okay, and I have a right triangle, okay, so I know that this angle is congruent. Okay, I can go ahead and set up the proportion that for the small triangle, so this small triangle, I know that my I have a short side, which is my vertical side, and my horizontal side. Okay, for my small triangle, my short side is 2, and my horizontal is x minus 3. So because they're similar triangles, that needs to be equal to the same ratio of my large triangle. Okay, so it's following this same ratio of short over our horizontal long side. Okay, my short side is here, so that's x. Okay, over my horizontal long side, well, That is x plus x minus 3. Okay, so now I got my equation here. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and solve this equation. So first thing I'm going to do is simplify it. So I get 2 over x minus 3 is equal to x over 2x minus 3. I have a proportion here, so I can solve this by cross multiplying. So I get 2 times 2x minus 3. That's this here. And that's equal to this product, x times x minus 3. Okay, distribute across, I get 4x minus 6 is equal to x squared minus 3x. Recognize it's a quadratic, so first thing I'm going to do is set it equal to 0. So I'm going to get 0 is equal to, so I'm going to have to minus 4x here, minus 4x, and add 6, and add 6. So I'm going to get x squared minus 7x, and I'm going to add 6 there. Okay, so I'm setting it equals 0, so I'm going to try and find my solve this by factoring. So diamond method, I get a times c is 6, my b value is negative 7, so I'm going to get negative 6, negative 1. And multiply it to 6 and add the negative 7, so I get x squared minus 6x minus x plus 6. Factor out an x, and I get x minus 6 minus 1. I get x minus 6. So I get the two factors, x minus 6 times the quantity x minus 1. This is equal to 0. Null factor property, I get that x is equal to 6 or x is equal to 1. Okay? But I got to remember, over here I said side AB would be x minus 3. Well, if you did 3, if you let x equals 1, you'd have 1 minus 3, and you get a side that's negative 2. We can't have a negative 2 as a side, so that solution does not work. So x equals 6 is our height of the flagpole. So remembering units, so 6 meters is the height of the flagpole. Okay, that concludes our notes tonight. Please highlight any questions you might have and bring them to class tomorrow.